Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Sports Den. My name is Dominic Papa. Our first show of the new year 2015. Happy New Year to all of you tuning in, and hopefully 2015 is a great year for everyone in the Windsor and Essex County area. On this edition of the Sports Den, before we get into all of that, the topics, of course, we're going to talk, everybody's talking about it, the Detroit Lions, the Dallas Cowboys, the call, the game, everything. We're going to talk about that in detail, and we're also going to talk about Canada's gold medal victory at the World Junior Hockey Championships. Before we get into those discussions in our panel, of course, I want to give a shout out to the Windsor Express basketball team. They will look to start a new winning streak this coming Thursday when they take on the Brampton A's at the WFCU Center. 7 o'clock is tip-off time. Hopefully we'll get a big crowd out for that. And also the Express will be at home on Saturday evening. This coming January 10th, they'll take on the St. John Mill Rats. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. If you can't make it to the game at the WFCU, don't worry, WeTV's got you covered. We have all the action starting at 7 o'clock, a live broadcast at www.we-tv.ca. Hopefully you can tune in and watch some great NBL basketball action. Also want to give a shout out to the Windsor Spitfires, a very successful road trip this past weekend. They win a couple of games on the road, keep their playoff hopes alive, and hopefully they embark on another road trip this weekend. Hopefully they'll continue their winning ways and find their way into the postseason. Good luck to Bob Bugner and the gang, the Windsor Spitfires. Of course, if you want to get involved with the show, we invite you to contact us. I've got my little device here, my little iPad, and you can contact us on our Twitter page at SportsDen Live. If I get some time, if I can quiet the panel down a little bit, I'll try to read out a couple of the tweets that do come in, but certainly participate in the show if you'd like to, and we certainly would like to hear your comments. Let's now get to the panel. Very good panel here tonight to discuss what we're talking about, and 3 new faces to the Sports Den, so pretty excited about that. To my far side, at the other end of the table, a hardworking gentleman in our community, a big supporter of many sports events, teams, groups, very generous man. Him and his company, the J.P. Thompson Architects Limited group, certainly do a lot of great things in our community for a lot of good programs, so we certainly appreciate them. Mark Bolio, one of the co-owners of that great organization, joins us on the show. Welcome to the program, Mark.
Thank you, Dominic.
I know this is the first time I've had you on the show. I'm finally glad I was able to get you in. You're a busy man. You're running a business, but how are things going with J.P. Thompson and Associates? Or not Associates, you got rid of that.
Yeah,
it's J.P. Thompson Architects.
Yeah, we're doing good.
Yeah.
We're surviving.
Yeah.
Winter's a slow time for construction, but we seem to be holding our own.
Mm-hmm.
And,
is there a busy season in architecture, or
well,
is it kind of like
it's
comes and goes in spurts?
Yeah, certain times we're very busy in the design aspects of the business, and other times more in the contract administration of the construction of the buildings, and it kind of goes in streaks. Yep.
One thing that I really admire about you and what Colin, your partner, do, certainly you get involved with a lot of sports groups. I know recently you just sponsored a game at the Windsor Family Credit Union Center, the Windsor Express basketball game, where you sponsored all the kids free tickets. You took care of that. I know you're involved with the University of Windsor.
Yep.
You're involved with the Westby Awards. You've become a major sponsor there, a contributor. Why the passion for local and area sports?
Well, I think, let's take the University of Windsor. We sponsor the LIFE program, Lancer Youth Fan Experience. We just believe that if the young people get involved and watch the athletes at the University of Windsor, they'll see it as another reason, another avenue of which to focus their attention on post-secondary education. The Westbys, that speaks for itself. We're happy to be a part of that, and I mean it's great to acknowledge the great athletes we have locally. And the Express, I just think that's a great Windsor team, and to have sponsored 13 and under free for a night is something we wanted to do. Again, I think if the youth get the experience of seeing them, and they'll want to keep coming back.
Yeah. Well, it's very generous of you to do that, and we're very
Appreciate
fortunate to have in our community.
Appreciate it.
Certainly do appreciate all the hard work you put into it. Thanks for coming in tonight, okay, Mark?
Yeah, thank you.
Also on the panel, former hockey coach, a tremendous hockey coach, tremendous hockey man, a longtime friend of mine, and finally got to run into him after several years of not seeing him around. I knew he was on the road doing his thing with hockey, but now he's become an author. He has penned this book, Your Brain is Out, Screw You. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but you can see the author's name right there, and you know who I'm talking about, Mr. Steve Prager. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thanks, Dom. Thanks for having me, and it's nice to be back.
It is nice to have you back, and certainly hockey was good to you for a long time. And,
hockey was great to me, for me, and it still is.
Yeah.
And in fact, I appreciate you mentioning the book, and it's because of hockey that I was able to take the time and put some of my thoughts down on paper and write that book.
Quickly, an overview of the book. What's it all about, and why should people get this book, Steve?
Well, as a coach, as a hockey coach, you always want to put your athletes in a position to be successful, as I would say, to do the right thing. And really, I translate that to the street now, to the everyday man. I personally believe that all men struggle to do the next right thing, as I say. And why is that? Well, that's the title of the book. All men struggle to do the next right thing because your brain is out to screw you.
Okay.
It's a tongue-in-cheek look at the male brain, and the male brain, quite frankly, is the only thing I think that's wrong in the world.
Oh, okay.
You know, every problem, Don, that we
I think we just got another Sports Den show right there.
well, you know, we're going to talk about the Lions, as you mentioned, and
True.
World Junior Hockey, and really any problem that we may see have gone on in those events really comes back to the male brain.
Okay, good stuff. Again, it sounds like it's a great read. I'm looking forward to reading it myself. Your Brain is Out to Screw You by Steve Prager. Where can I get it, Steve?
It can be bought on Amazon,
Okay.
Amazon.com, paperback or Kindle. It can also be found at Barnes & Noble
Okay.
and the Apple iBook store.
All right, good luck with it, and thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming in tonight. Also on the panel, very long-time friend of mine, certainly a very close friend of mine. He's the chairman of the Westby Selection Committee. He's also the vice president of that event, the Westbys, and of course, many people know him in our communities. Well, he's still coaching, actually. He's doing a great job at Herman with the female basketball program there. Royal Church is in the studio with us. About time we got you in here, Mr. Church.
Thanks, Don. Good to be here.
All right, Westby's, you're hard at it with your gang.
Yeah, we have the boss of the Westbys gives us a few months off, and so we're back at it in
What a
October.
fool. What a fool. What's the matter with that guy?
We're back at it in October. We met 4 or 5 times already. We've already got 4 or 5 categories wrapped up. Done the voting, got everybody out. We're going to meet again in a week. Things are going well. We're getting tons of nominations from the general public on the website. And every year, Dom, the number of nominations increases. So that tells me there's a lot more interest out there.
I think the interest is there. I think it's now getting the athletes nominated and people wanting to get their athletes certainly out there to your panel, anyways, to your group.
Absolutely.
For sure. So.
And the to be honest, most of the time the committee members are so knowledgeable about their particular sport that they already have, if a person's nominated, they already have them. But you need that.
Maybe that much more information, that those little
You need
tidbits
that in
they
case
can
we
bring.
miss somebody, Dom, because you're going to miss somebody at some point in time. So the general public getting to nominate people allows them to be part of the whole process, and it's good for everybody. It's a win-win.
Absolutely. Hard to believe 10th year already.
10th year.
I know we've been talking about it. It's like 10
Yeah,
years already.
It's amazing. I came in year 2. I wasn't around year 1, and so this is the 9th year for me, and it seems like yesterday. Honestly, it really does, and it's going to be spectacular. The 10th year.
Yeah,
It's a big year.
Gonna have some fun with it, that's for sure. And you look at some of the people that have come through. A guy that played against the Lions on the weekend, Tyrone Crawford, our male athlete of the year one year. Of course, Luke Wilson was nominated as a baseball player in the baseball category. Taylor Hall, Ryan Ellis, Daryl Stevenson, R.J. Franklin, Megan Augusta. There's been some great names already associated with the Westbys, so it keeps going on, and certainly it's a great thing for us to do, that's for sure. Let's get into the discussion. Detroit Lions, Dallas Cowboys. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about this. Not so much about the call. Here's a look at it. Here's the call. Here's the play. I don't think anyone's questioning that it was an interference call. I think what people are having a tough time pinpointing is, was this the changing point of the game, the turning point of the game? Did this influence the outcome? All of those questions. And there are some other tidbits that are coming out now. Mark, I'm going to let you go first here and just tell us, was it an interference call?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
And did it change the outcome of the game?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
I think it was doomed from the very moment the television broadcast began, when the commentators, and I think you remember who they were,
Joe Buck and
admitted
Troy Aikman.
the refereeing crew were basically rookies amongst themselves, working together. Not rookies in the sense of refereeing.
But the first time they'd
but,
worked together.
Yeah, they've never worked together. I mean, you can't have an important game like this and put together a bunch
Faux pas for the NFL.
Yeah, that was the number one.
That's
the
what
start
stood
of
out
the
to you?
mistake. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, but on the other hand, like in sports and hockey sometimes, we know that sometimes these games are awarded to officials based on merit. And for referees who've performed so-called better throughout the season, they sometimes get these extra paychecks as the playoffs go along. So it's a benefit from them. So I can see Mark's point for sure, that we have a strange group together before the game starting. They may not be willing to talk to each other intimately on the level that a crew spent together all year may have.
Shouldn't that group be rewarded, though, Steve? If the group has done a good job all year, don't you bring in that group for the game and keep them together? You know, as a coach, continuity is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. You would think that would be the case. Obviously, the NFL, hockey guy, has their rules, and this is the way you go about it. What was more stunning to me was I thought perhaps the Lions got wrapped up in this, perhaps a little bit. Okay, and so, you know, there's things that can take your mind off the game, take yourself out of the moment, and maybe on the Lions' perspective, there's just a little too much time spent on that call.
So maybe you don't think it was necessarily the turning point there.
I agree with Mark. It was the turning point. That was clearly an interference call. I've never played football. I certainly haven't reffed it, but from what my understanding of the game is, that is interference. It would have been an interference penalty in hockey.
And I know on the Fox broadcast, they have an official that they chime into, a former official, that they say, you know, what are your interpretations of that? And he explains it right on the broadcast, and he said it definitely was a penalty. So, you know, it really, when you're hearing it from a guy like that, that's you know, very qualified, kind of makes your head shake a little bit. Coming from a Dallas standpoint, a Dallas fan here, Royal, you know, I know you agree this was a penalty.
Absolutely. Two things made it a penalty, Dom. A, there was contact, and B, the defender never made an attempt to play the ball.
Okay.
He had his back completely to the ball. It's the most, to me, one of the most obvious pass interference penalties I've seen in a while. And why they picked up the flag and why they were so tardy about doing it, it seemed like it was a train wreck. The whole thing was a train wreck. I kind of blame the head referee for not taking charge of the situation and gathering his group together and say, hey, you know, what went on? What do you think? What do you think? And then calling it what it was, pass interference, and taking charge of the situation. As I said, he didn't do that. And as it turned out, as my two colleagues just said, it definitely was a turning point. It was 24-20 at the time. I thought Detroit had momentum. They were going to go, it looked to me like they were going in for a touchdown. I'm a Dallas fan, and I was, you know, I was pretty
Concerned.
on the edge of my seat because I could see it
Could have been
happening.
the game.
Yeah,
Could have been
absolutely.
the game. The other thing that came out of it, Des Bryant comes right off the sideline. He's right in one of the officials' face. No helmet on, nothing, no call. I think that's the other thing that's really sticking out when you look at this incident and how it unfolded and why there wasn't a call there. That's an automatic call, and that wasn't flagged down. Should we read into that part at all, or was it just all of the commotion that was taking place? Do you give the officials maybe a little bit of slack there?
I think in that particular case, everyone being wrapped up in the moment, the Des Bryant thing was kind of pushed aside or pushed down, if you will. You know, it took a lot of courage for that referee to throw that flag that time of the game and call it interference penalty.
It was what it was, though.
But it took a lot of courage. But what I mean is, it would have taken the same amount of courage to leave it on the ground and not pick it up. And that's what we didn't see. So it was clearly inconsistent. If the flag is thrown, leave it on the ground. Okay, but to pull it back at that time of the game, in that critical game, this is not game number 10 in Cincinnati. This is a playoff game on national television.
Yeah, yes, it was national television. You alluded to it a little bit here, Royal. Everything's happening. The call is reversed. Now comes in the conspiracy theory. Okay. Nobody wants to touch this one. Is there a conspiracy here? I have a hard time believing it in the NFL. You know, they put the camera on Jerry Jones, all of that.
Well, Dom, you know what? I'll say it.
Okay, here we go.
I have worked as a professional in the United States and been paid to coach over there. Mm-hmm. And while it's true in Canada, it is 10 more fold in the United States. The American sports situation is all about money. And when you get into your four big ones, the NFL, the NHL, baseball, and the NBA, it's all about the money. All about the money. And I'll say it. If Jerry Jones says pick up that flag, they're picking it up.
Go ahead, Rob. I want to hear this one.
I don't believe that, Steve. I really don't. Or maybe I just don't want to believe it. Because I feel those things shouldn't happen at any level, amateur, high school, any level. Some things like that shouldn't happen. But, you know, I believe that old saying, I think it was from Vince Lombardi, that adversity doesn't build character, it reveals character. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened was the Detroit Lions were faced with a very difficult situation, one of the most difficult you could ever get involved in. Picking up a flag on a play that literally turned the game in the other direction. So how much more adversity can you have than that? But they didn't have what it takes to overcome that adversity.
Yeah,
They laid down.
Look at the kick that ensued. What do you
Yeah,
get?
Martin
10 yards.
kicked.
10
He shanked
yards.
it, yep.
He shanked it.
10 yards.
And they all just kind of,
Yeah.
they took a deep breath and they just said, we're done. And
offense
everything
totally
that
sputtered.
happened after that, Dom, showed that
But I think
they
that,
just
you know,
lost it.
If we can go a little further into that, though, Royal, when Dallas came down after that penalty, the non-call, the reversed call, Dallas comes down, and there were a couple of plays again that were questionable, and I haven't confirmed it yet, but there were some reports today that the officials admitted to making another mistake on another call, a missed holding call where Adamakan Suh was held. And I thought there was a couple of plays where, boy, you know, Romo had a lot of time. There's got to be a hold somewhere there. And if you saw a couple of the replays, I thought there should have been one call for sure. Anyways, all of this is going on. And that's where this conspiracy theory comes back into play, because you look at that. But
Oh, you mean
sure.
Adamakan Suh,
Yeah.
the guy who shouldn't have been in the game because he was suspended, Dom?
No,
The
the
same
league
guy?
changed that. The league changed that. And I think they made the right call there. They fined him. I don't think it was worthy of a suspension.
So they picked up the flag.
No, they didn't
The league
pick up the
picked up
flag.
the flag.
They fined him. So
Well, and that was my point, Royal. That's what I mean. Reversal of the Sioux penalty or suspension, picking up this flag. I think the league at some point has more involvement than we may or may not know. I truly believe that. And what happened after, Dom, a little further on your comment, was these officials, after that flag was picked up and all the commotion,
they had to be
right
rattled
down,
as well.
that's right, rattled, a little shell shock. So from that point towards the end of the game, that courage they have to make an automatic call, they've lost it.
I think exactly right. I think when he threw the flag, he did it because he's a good referee, and that's why he was there. I think when it hit the ground and he looked at it, he said, oh my, I just threw a flag, and I'm in Dallas. I'll never get to my car. Right?
Okay.
But I don't think it was him that picked up the flag.
Well, no, I'm
Mark.
being,
Yeah.
metaphorically, like
Yeah,
they all the referees looked at one another and had to have said, what did we just do? We just threw that flag, and this could be the turning point of the game. As a matter of fact, they made the turning point of the game by picking it up. So
Okay, last comment from each one of you. Did Detroit lose this game on their own, or was it influenced?
Detroit still could have stopped them, 3 and out,
Okay,
right?
fair enough.
If they had that in them, to walk out there, just quit the crying and say, you're not getting 5 yards. That's what they needed to think. That's what I think the book should be saying.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
I agree with Mark. You know what? You play for 60 minutes. You still have every opportunity to win and lose.
And they were still leading at that
That's right. Win and lose on your own. Detroit's defense could have made a hell of a stand and shut them down. Okay, and they did. Sure, Dallas was given a crutch, a spark, an opportunity. They took advantage of it and they won the game. But Detroit lost that game. It took them that long, but they lost the game.
And you're going to tell me Dallas won fair and square, right?
No, I'm not, because
that.
I'm a realist. I love sports and I see what happened. But I think that, unfortunately, Detroit just didn't have the character to rise to the occasion. And in those kind of situations, that's what makes teams and makes athletes great. And at that point in the game, at that point in time, they weren't great. They couldn't get it together. And that's unfortunate, but...
It'd have been a great story had they won.
Sure,
Absolutely.
Sure, it would have been, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, on that note, we got to take a time out here in the den, and when we come back, we're going to talk World Junior Hockey Championships, Canada's gold medal. We'll get the panel's thoughts about that and what this means to Canada and its hockey program. We'll talk about that right here on the Sports Den.
Hi, I'm Joe Quenville, coach of the Chicago Blackhawks, and a proud graduate of FJ Brennan High. I can remember fondly my 5 great years at Brennan. It seems like just yesterday that we're there. A lot of great life lessons that I learned along the way, particularly from my teachers in the Catholic program. Want to wish everybody there good luck, and look forward to being a proud graduate and being a proud Cardinal going on here in Chicago.
Like our champions, we know what it takes to win. Every day we put on our uniforms and we strive to be the best. Ring after ring, we keep practicing until it becomes second nature. Our craftsmen have put in thousands of hours to master their trade. And when things get tough, we make the adjustments needed to stay on top. Barron Championship rings. This is who we are.
Like, this is...
Welcome back to the Sports Den. You know what? We take a commercial break, but the break doesn't stop. But surely it's a hot topic, so it's all good. Before we get back to our panel and the discussion, again, I want to plug WeTV's broadcast of NBL basketball. The Windsor Express will be in action Thursday night at home, but also Saturday, January 10th. We'll have the game for you live right here on we-tv.ca. Tip-off is at 7 p.m., so hopefully you can join us for that. Mark Bolio from J.P. Thompson Architects Limited is with us. Also Steve Prager, an author and former hockey coach, and Royal Church, the selection committee chairman of the Westby Awards, is joining us on the show. We're not going to talk about the Lions and Cowboys anymore. We've got to give kudos out to the World Junior Hockey Team, Canadian Junior Hockey Team, a gold medal, their first one in 5 years. Pretty exciting. Let's look at some of the action, of course. This was in the last period, 5-4. They had a 5-1 lead in this game, almost squandered it. Pretty impressive victory, though. And, to win it on home ice in Canada, I think makes it that much more special. Maybe it gave them an edge as well. Bottom line is they won a gold medal. And I was a little surprised, to be honest with you. I thought Russia was on a really nice roll. I thought they were going to be really tough to beat, but that quick start in the game really helped Canada. They get up 2-0 right away. What do you think? What does it mean for Hockey Canada to do this, Mark?
What I liked about this team is there's no superstars on this team. And for a very long time, I have never seen the juniors play as a team. And this team did. That's what I was impressed with. All the lines were
Pretty balanced.
pretty balanced.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a balanced team. I don't know enough about their practice time together, but it looked as though they actually had some time because there was some coherency in the way they played, as lines and as a team. And I thought they were the best team,
Okay.
regardless.
It's tough. when you play for Canada, I mean, let's face it, it's life. Hockey is life here in Canada. And I know when there was some of the cuts that went through, there was that question again. People were questioning Benoit Gruel, the coach. What are you doing? The best way to answer is win a gold medal, right, Steve?
Yeah, well, they always, it's easy to question the coach for sure. Mm-hmm. What stood out to me about the game is the Russians finished the game just like they started the game. They were very chippy in the get-go. Mm-hmm. And Canada got those 2 quick goals. The Russian goalie was pulled out of the net. I really felt bad for that young man. This was on the world stage. This could have been perhaps the most important game of that young goaltender's life, the Russian goaltender.
I think it's the most important game for all of these
Absolutely,
players.
and to be pulled out of the game in 2 minutes was heartbreaking to watch. And after that, though, you could see the Russians start to come on. It gave them a little bit of lift, and that's sometimes a coaching tactic. But I felt bad for that player. But boy, oh boy, did the Russians come on in that third period. Yeah. And I'll tell you, if there was a fourth period, if we played 4 periods, I'm not
might not be the same result.
Might not same result for sure.
Yeah. What did you think of it all, Royal?
Well, I thought Dominic, the coach, Benoit Gruel, is that his name? I was impressed with him from the beginning all the way through the tournament. I thought he brought those young kids together. Whatever he was preaching was the right thing. They seem to have great camaraderie and chemistry, and that just doesn't happen by accident. I believe, Steve, I don't know if you do, but I think coaches can promote that and make it happen with the approach they have. And I thought he did a wonderful job. And Hockey Canada got back on track again. What I mean by that is they've been choosing the team in a certain way for many years. A couple of back checkers, a couple of penalty killers, a couple of hard-nosed defensive defensemen, a couple of offensive defensemen, and picking a team that way. This time, according to all the experts, what they did was they chose the fastest, most skilled players. And they didn't do it by position. They didn't do it any other way than who are the most skilled,
who are the best players, basically.
Who skate the fastest, and who are the best players. And it worked. And the results speak for themselves because the other years we haven't done so well. All of a sudden, we have success.
Mm-hmm. Cliff thinks Canada was lucky to win. They didn't deserve to win. Russians were the better team. Canada won the gold medal. But that's fine. He's entitled to his opinion.
Well, if you watch the third period of the game, you may come to that conclusion.
Sure.
Okay?
I thought Russia was very good. I was worried about this game. I really thought going into the game, Russia maybe had more momentum and confidence. They played better throughout the tournament. They really put a beating on some teams, and they just looked big, strong, and powerful. So Canada played a very smart game, though, and they got to that lead, which they needed to have, and they took advantage of it. Why is this tournament, it seems as though, maybe I'm wrong, you guys can let me know, it seems as though this tournament means everything to Canada and maybe not so much to the other countries. Is that a fair statement, fair assessment?
Yeah.
I mean, United States doesn't win it. Okay, they didn't win it. Finland didn't win it. We don't hear nothing. We don't.
I think, Dom, if you take Hockey Canada and its money out of the World Junior Tournament, you don't have much of a tournament.
You won't have much. You're right.
Okay?
I agree with you.
And, little known fact, some know it, little known fact, but many of the teams, the younger nations, okay, for example, the Germanys, okay, they get aid to come over, okay? Like, it costs them a lot of money to put forth a team and bring them over here, and the big dollars behind USA Hockey and Hockey Canada help fund those people to come over here and enjoy the tournament. Like,
so is this just their ego?
Well, I don't know if it's so much ego, but again, I believe it's a money-making opportunity. When you see the Air Canada Centre jammed to the rafters like it was twice yesterday.
They weren't happy with the crowds in Montreal during this tournament. That's a whole another can of worms.
Twice yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of money. So, and plus the TV revenue too. So it's a great event.
Yeah,
and you know what? What a privilege for these young men this age to participate in such a tournament.
All right. Good stuff. We're out of time, guys. I got to get going. My producer's screaming at me. Appreciate you coming in, though. Hopefully we can do this again. Great to see all of you.
Thank
and
you.
Again, look forward to talking to you all down the road. Okay. That's this edition of the Sports Den. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out again next Tuesday night. We'll do it all the same here, right from the WE TV studio. Until then, though, this is Dominic Papa wishing you a great week. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.